Alright, this week is kind of heavy. We're talking about Christianity, religion, sin, and how everything relates. First and foremost, definitely a proud Christian. And as a Christian, my take on the world is potentially going to be a little bit different than someone who isn't. And that goes without saying. But I just had to say it. Anyways, if we live in a country where we separate the church from the state, we can't subject everybody to our own beliefs. There are things that are considered sins, and by the book definition, and by the book I mean the Bible, they should not be tolerated. However, by book definition, it also says all sins are equally weighted from God's perspective. However, we as human beings categorize them based upon a couple means of criteria. One, which is fine, is the amount of damage it incurs on another individual. For example, perjury and murder are two offenses that are sins. In the eyes of the Lord, they probably may carry the same weight, but with us, you get a totally different sentencing if you're convicted of them, which makes sense. And two, which isn't that fair, is our likeliness to do that sin ourselves. If we are less likely to find ourselves completing a sin, we are much more likely to be critical of another person who actually does complete that sin. And that's not really fair. So, if you ask me if this is a sin or that's a sin, I'm going to give you the definition based upon the book. But I don't think that you should be treated any differently because everybody's sinning. And if you're in a situation in which you get caught up of whether or not something is a sin or should be legalized, we have to look at it from a more logical standpoint outside of our religious gaze, because there's a separation between church and state. And I'm pretty sure you know exactly what that could be applied to. The number one thing when it comes to being a Christian is loving yourself, loving others, helping others, and being a positive influence or impact to those around you. So I'm trying my hardest to do that, at least, right? Outside of that, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more topics that we could discuss in terms of whether or not we're accepting of other religions, etc. But that's a conversation for another time. And that's just about it for today, so